This winter is not cold. When the mother of Wang Lan and Wang Gang lay dying, she told her teenage sons, "When I'm gone, we need to trust and help each other. And always remember, we are a family." The boy's mother left no money behind, and since the boy's father had abandoned them years before, Gang, who was 16, dropped out of high school to support himself and 14-year-old Lan. He carried bricks in a construction site all day and washed dishes at night. By saving every yuan, he was able to pay for Lan to attend one of the top universities in China. Lan felt uneasy about how his brother had sacrificed his own education for him, but Gang would just laugh and say, "I wasn't good at reading books anyway." After graduating, Lan took a job as an accountant in an IT company and bought a decent-sized apartment. He fell in love with a beautiful young woman named Wu, who, like him, came from a poor family. Lan showed his interest in Wu by asking about her favorite foods and books, but Wu's question to Lan concerned only money. When Lan finally told Wu how much money he had in the bank, she married him. Gang, meanwhile, worked and saved for several years to buy a 3-acre field in Nianzhu, a small farming town. He grew chilies, garlic, and other spices beloved by the people of Sichuan. Every morning, he drove his second-hand truck to the farmer's market near Lan's apartment to sell his produce, then visited his brother to rest. After one visit on a hot summer evening, as Lan watched his brother's truck fade into the distance, Wu spoke sharply. "Don't you ever let your brother step into our house again. His pants are dirty and his back is sweaty. He smells awful." Lan was stunned. "But he's my brother," he cried. "Isn't it natural to let him rest here for a while? Gang works hard and deserves a rest." "I'm sick of washing the cushions when he sits on my sofa. Country people are dirty and stink. He will bring bad luck to our house. Do you want to go bankrupt?" "How dirty can the cushions get? You already made him sit on a newspaper. Besides, he did so much for me. We wouldn't have this house if not for Gang." "You can choose me or your stinky brother." "I want both. He's my brother, you're my wife. We're a family." "Oh," said Wu. She threw a blanket at Lan. "Then if you love your brother so much, you can sleep on the couch." He stung up, "and see how you like it." She slammed the bedroom door and locked it. The next day, Gang came to Lan's apartment as usual. His white tank top was stained with sweat, and his patched work pants were ragged. Lan always offered to buy his brother new clothes, but Gang always declined. Gang noticed the blanket on the sofa. "What is this blanket doing here?" I was cold last night when I was watching soccer, so I brought out a blanket." Gang hid his skepticism. Wu entered the apartment, and Gang greeted her. "Hello, sister. Sit with us." But Wu swept her eyes across Gang as if he were garbage and marched straight to her room. Lan lowered his head in shame. Gang stood up and said, "I forgot, brother. I have to put some gas in the truck. I've got to go." Lan grabbed Gang's arm. "She's just mad at me about something. It's nothing about you at all." "I understand," said Gang, "but I have to put gas in my truck before the station closes." Gang left the apartment, never to return. Lan despised himself for allowing his brother to be treated that way, and so, months later, on Gang's 40th birthday, Lan used the money that he had been saving to take his wife to a fancy restaurant and bought his brother kung pao chicken and mapo tofu, the dishes his mother had made for him on birthdays when he was a boy. Lan drove to the farmer's market and found his brother sitting on the back of his truck, watching the sunset. "Brother," said Lan, "I brought you your favorite dishes. Come for dinner." "I don't want to be in the way," Gang said. "Actually, brother, I was thinking of not coming to the town anymore at all." "But why? Is it my wife?" "Of course not. I'm just tired of selling vegetables." "It's enough if you visit me once in a while." For the first time, Lan noticed wrinkles that made his brother's face and hands as rough as strong Lan's. No one would believe he was only 40. Gang had worked so hard for Lan, and and now he was going to step away for the sake of harmony between Lang and Lang's wife. Lang could not stop his tears as his brother left the town for the last time. 5 years later, Lang and Wu both lost their jobs. Since they had already lost most of their savings in the stock market, they were forced to sell their apartment and move to Mianzhu, Gang's small town. However, they have no place to live. When Gang heard the news, he and his wife, Li, invited them to visit their house, a simple but solid house that Gang and Li had built with their own hands. Lang and Wu arrived at dinner time. "Let me help you with that, sister," said Li with a welcoming smile. She hung up Wu's heavy coat and dragged Wu's snow-covered luggage next to the couch. The house was no bigger than the little rural house that Wu had grown up in, but like her childhood home, it was neat and clean. Wu's mother had always said that it is no shame to be poor unless you let it to be a shame, but Wu had felt ashamed often. "You must be hungry," Li said. "Please eat before everything gets cold." Li led Wu by the hand to the square plastic table covered with serving bowls full of steaming food. Wu noticed kung pao chicken and mapo tofu, the two brothers' favorites. She also noticed a bowl brimming with her own favorite dish, taro duck soup. Wu was stunned because Lang had only casually mentioned Wu's favorite dish to his brother. Wu lowered her head to the soup and inhaled. It was the very aroma of her childhood home. She sipped. It tastes just like her mother's soup. After a while, Gang said with a casual air, "I have an idea. Since we have a little space in our backyard, why don't we build a room for you two? That way, we can eat together like this every day." Wu could barely raise her eyes from the soup. "But wouldn't we be bothering you?" she asked softly. "We will never want to cause trouble in your house." "What do you mean, trouble?" laughed Gang. "You're my brother's wife, so you're my sister, and we're a family." Gang reached out his hand. When Wu grasped it, a single tear fell from her eye. This winter was not cold for Wu, for she was warmed from the inside.
Mud Boy. Mud Boy splashed through the puddles and sloshed through the mud, then launched himself onto the soggy turf. The field was so rutted from dog play that he didn't slide, but stuck in place, his face submerged in 2 inches of water, his loins in cold mud. Mud Boy's mother laughed nervously, for people were watching. Mud Boy smiled up with a wet clump of grass sticking out of his mouth. His mom smiled down. "You look like those dinos eating in our book." "Brachiosaurs," said Mud Boy. He chomped on the grass and decided to like it. Energized by the boost, he thrashed his limbs as he did when he swam, and Marina leapt nimbly back from the splashes. Mud Boy rolled over and stretched out his limbs, then sloshed about to imprint a mud angel. He howled up at the charcoal gray sky. That brought curious dogs who barked and pranced and poked at the boy. Mud Boy leapt to his feet and thrust dripping arms skyward. "Let the wild rumpus begin!" "Don't ever change," murmured Marina, unable to distinguish her tears from the raindrops that clung to her cheek. Blood Boy loved knives of all kinds, and scissors, razors, scalpels, and pins. When Marina sent him to school with an exemption from frog dissection, he shredded the note with scissors, then smuggled a frog home and dissected it with a stolen scalpel. "These are its guts," he told Mud Boy. The scientific tone of his voice was contrasted by the gleam in his eyes as he scrutinized Mud Boy's face. "Go ahead and scream, Mama's darling." Mud Boy looked down at the tiny string of intestines suspended from Blood Boy's thumb and forefinger, like the sausages on the wall at Gladclaw's Deli. Blood Boy saw his 3 years younger brother's lips quiver and his hand twitched the scalpel. "Papa hates crybabies," he said, and Mud Boy swallowed hard and replied, "Papa's not here anymore." Blood Boy ground his teeth. "Thanks to you." Blood Boy got Grand Theft Auto, a skateboard and spray paint, and 3 secret piercings. Mud Boy got stuffed animals, art supplies, private art lessons, and at 13 a big fluffy dog that he cuddled for hours. Blood Boy got cocaine and a razor blade and urged his brother, "Join me, Sergey. Show us what you're made of." His friend Dmitri sneered. "He's made of mud. There's mud in his pants." Blood Boy's steely gaze willed his brother to comply while defying him to show disapproval. Mud Boy looked helplessly at the rafters and a gang of little black spiders. Blood Boy chopped the cocaine into lines and inhaled fiercely. Blood Boy got graduation thousands from his absent dad and thousands more from his mom, who could scarcely afford it. He bought a black Civic and muscled it up for street racing. "Serge," he said in a plaintive voice, "let's go for a ride, man. My car is so cool." Serge sat on the couch wedged between his mother and Poppins, the big yellow lab. He gave a jerk as if to rise, but Marina squeezed tighter. "Grigor," she said, in a voice more tender than it had been in years, "you've got a car and a full tank of gas. You've got money too, and you're handsome and bold. The world is your oyster." Marina and Grigor locked eyes from across the room. How tall he was, how lean and strong. And his wolf-gray eyes were so like his father's. Grigor gazed at his mother, so lovely and sad, yet peaceful somehow. Her face was weathered, and there were many more gray strands in her hair, and all of them his, she had so often joked, and not joked, too. "Be free now," he said, and flew from the house.